Hi, it's Steve Rode, your Get Out of Debt guy. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably want to learn more about money, credit, and debt, or you're one of the many good people out there with bad debt and you want it to go away. But stick with me. Together we can make that happen. Either way, I'm here for you, and I believe a better and more financially successful future is ahead. It can be within your grasp. I'd like to ask you for a favor. If you find this or any of my podcasts helpful, please take a moment and leave a review on the podcast platform you're listening on. Your feedback and opinion matter to me, and if I've done a good job, your review helps others to find the podcast as well. And while you're there leaving your review, don't forget to subscribe to the show so that you can be notified when the next episode comes out. Last piece of housekeeping. If you have a question or comment you'd like to hear on an upcoming podcast, you can leave me a voice message at getoutofdebt.org/message, or leave me a question for me to answer on my website by going to getoutofdebt.org/question. Thank you so much for being a great listener, and I'm sending you a giant virtual hug in return. And now, on with the podcast. Today I'm going to answer a reader question for you from Renee. Renee says, my husband and I received separate 1099-C debt cancellation forms for the same amount of a shared debt. We always file a joint return. If we submit both 1099-C forms with our 1040, it will look like we received double the debt cancellation that we actually received. The creditor said they're required to issue separate forms for the full amount as we are both responsible for the debt. I'll list the actual amount of debt cancellation on the 1040, but if we're required to submit both of the 1099-Cs, it will appear as we entered only half the amount. How do I handle this? So the IRS requires the issuer of the 1099-C to issue them to the individuals who are responsible for the debt. In your case, would be you and your husband. But when it comes time to file taxes and you're filing a joint return, you can report just one of the 1099-Cs, but indicate that the names on the 1099-C are both you and your husband. Now, of course, I am not the world's biggest tax expert. In fact, I'm probably not even the world's smallest tax expert. And I would always recommend that you talk to a tax professional in your area, somebody who you trust, or roll the dice, take your chances, contact the IRS, ask them directly. If you have a question you'd like for me to answer, just visit getoutofdebt.org and you'll find a link right at the top to ask me a question. Amy asked me, Steve, I need advice about disputing a debt on my credit report. A third-party debt collector added a closed account to my credit report when the account was previously closed 2 years ago after an agreement was made between the original creditor and myself. Afterwards, the case was dismissed in a California court. Is this legal for a collection agency to reopen a closed account without first taking me back to court? How can I dispute this debt? Well, Amy, I am not an attorney. And to get legal advice, you would need to talk to a lawyer who is licensed to practice law in your state. However, I can tell you that your credit report should contain a clear and accurate account of your credit history. That means if you were behind on a debt previously, it should remain on your credit report, and it can remain up to 7 years from the time it last went delinquent. The court case that you mentioned might appear in public records on your credit report, but that alone is not alarming. What is alarming is if this collection agency that you mentioned is reporting the account as being currently open or you currently owe a balance. That's a different matter. It's easy to dispute an item on your credit report. You can do it on the Credit Reporting Bureau website, or you can look for instructions on the credit report itself. It's pretty easy. You can submit your dispute online. You can say this is not true and factual information if it is in fact not true and not actual. Just keep in mind that an account may only appear on one or two and not all three of your credit bureau reports. An account is not required to be listed, and it's only listed because somebody supplied the information. However, it is always a good idea to look at all three of your major credit reports at annualcreditreport.com. You can look at them for free and look to see what other information may not be true, factual, or correct. This was Steve Rode, your Get Out of Debt guy. You can always visit me at getoutofdebt.org. See ya. Hey, it's Steve Rode, the Get Out of Debt guy. You know that thing that you just listened to? Well, believe it or not, that was actually the Get Out of Debt Guy show. If you have a question that you'd like to ask about money, credit, or debt, just visit my site, getoutofdebt.org, getoutofdebt.org, and click on the Ask a Question link at the top of the site. I look forward to hearing from you.